The UN General Secretary says we need a ceasefire. The UN Human Rights Chief says we need a ceasefire. In fact, every major UN agency wants a ceasefire. And so do Oxfam, Save the Children, Amnesty, and so do the vast majority of people in Britain.
I've spoken a bit about Suella Braverman, but I'm not sure you guys know this, but she is, without a doubt, one of the nastiest, most divisive politicians in Westminster, and that is no mean feat. But she has done one good thing. She has advertised this demonstration to the whole country.
The most respectable thing to do on Armistice Day is ask for armistice. Today we demand a ceasefire. Ceasefire now.
I see tolerance. I see love. I see all communities. I see all colors. I see Muslims, Christians, and Jews. Please applaud our Jewish brothers and sisters who are with us today.
Stop bombing Gaza! 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 Ceasefire now! 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 Ceasefire now!
We remember and honor those who lost their lives in war. And we remember those who are still falling today. Today is a reminder for all of us that our history, humanity's history is connected, is one. Today is a reminder that it is only once the guns fall silent that peace can be achieved. This is why we are here today, to call for ceasefire. Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now!
The UN was created in 1945 to prevent war and establish rules for conduct in war. But throughout its history, Israel has been tearing up those laws. It tore them up in 1948, the Nakba. It tore them up in 1967, the occupation. It has ignored these rules ever since, maintaining an illegal military occupation, building illegal settlements in occupied territory, and committing a crime against humanity after a crime against humanity. After decades of impunity, Israel is undermining the very foundation of our international order, the very foundation of our universal values. Today, Israel is bombing the United Nations in Gaza. Literally. It has killed more than 100 UN aid workers. It has killed nearly 11,000 innocent people in Gaza and more than 175 in the West Bank. Yet, there are still no demands from the UK government on Israel to cease its brutal war on the Palestinian people. There are no demands on Israel to stop starving 2.3 million people. There are no demands on Israel to stop killing children. They have already killed nearly 5,000 children. Do Palestinian lives matter?
Yes.
Do Palestinian lives matter?
Yes.
Do they matter?
Yes.
Is the life of a Palestinian child worth less than any other child in the world?
No.
Is the Palestinian life worth less than anyone in the world?
No.
Is the future of our children, Palestinian children, less important than any other in the world?
No.
Friends, Great Britain is renowned for its commitment to the rule of law and championing free speech. And yet, there are politicians who want to ban marches like this This has been described as a hate march. A hate march. A demonstration demanding a ceasefire on Armistice Day is described as a hate march. This only makes sense if they want to silence you. Will you be silent? No. Will you be silent? No. The British people are famous for their love of those who struggle for freedom. Remember how you stood up against apartheid South Africa? It took decades, but you prevailed. The British people are also famous for their community cohesion and respect for one another. I look around.
Every time they're imprisoning people in the West Bank, every time they're killing children, we will march. A hate march. Look at what the fascists were doing in the Cenotaph this morning. They say they respect remembrance of the dead, but they're the people who are desecrating the Cenotaph, the memorial of the dead. We're the people who have got a huge, diverse, principled, peaceful march, because we are here about the Palestinians. We don't hate anybody, but we are going to hold to account our politicians who refuse to give a ceasefire, who refuse to call for a ceasefire. Rishi Sunak who said to Netanyahu, we hope you win. Keir Starmer, who has been an absolute disgrace as a Labour leader. Keir Starmer, who has said next week there is a motion in the House of Commons calling for a ceasefire, put in by the Scottish National Party. He's telling Labour MPs not to vote for that motion. That is an absolute disgrace, and I hope every single one of the Labour MPs defies his call, because it is absolutely abominable that we're not allowed to call for a ceasefire. 20 years ago, when we had the March on Iraq, when we formed Stop the War, we said the war on terror will lead to more Islamophobia and will lead to attacks on our civil liberties. What are we seeing today? Suella Braverman, the pound shop Enoch Powell, she is saying that we're going to restrict the laws. She's making it harder and harder for us to demonstrate. She's making it more difficult, and she's trying to blame the Muslim community. If there is any violence today, as we've seen with the fascists in central London, there is one woman responsible for it, and that is the Home Secretary, and she should be sacked now. And if this government isn't prepared to sack her, they should be sacked as well, because they're an absolute...
We are here in solidarity with the victims of this conflict. We will continue to support demonstrations calling for peace, and we will actively promote fundraising for medical aid to Gaza. We remain horrified at the loss of thousands of lives, and we send our condolences and solidarity to all those impacted by this violence. We condemn the slaughter of civilians. We condemn collective punishment. We demand the freedom of the hostages. We demand the freedom and liberation of the people of Gaza, who are held in bondage and in hostage all of the time. Thousands of men, women and children, civilians, have been slaughtered, and we urge all parties, including the international community, to work to stop the bloodshed. We call for an immediate ceasefire and an end to hostilities from all sides, from Hamas, from Israel, from the settlers, and all parties. We must stop the violence and take the road to peace. The conflict can only be resolved through a just resolution, through dialogue and respect for international law, including the illegal occupation of Palestinian land and support for the two-state solution. We support the voices on both sides that have shown tremendous courage in promoting peace, dialogue and a just settlement. RNT opposes anti-Semitism and Islamophobia and stands for respect and toleration for all peoples and all beliefs. In Britain, we must have peace and toleration in all of our communities, and we condemn the far-right hate merchants and provocateurs, such as this Home Secretary, and we will work with the wider anti-racist movement, the trade union and labour movement, for unity amongst our people against racism and fascism.
A march in which hundreds of thousands of voices, in grief and in anger, demand an end to the slaughter in Gaza. Today, here in London and across the world, millions are demanding a ceasefire. And we are also demanding much more than a ceasefire. We are demanding justice for Palestine. We are demanding an end to the repression. We are demanding an end to Israeli state violence. We are demanding an end to ethnic cleansing in both Gaza and the West Bank. And we are demanding an end to the occupation. History did not start on the 7th of October 2023 with the Hamas attack, which my union condemned. The Palestinian people have suffered 75 years of ethnic cleansing, occupation, oppression and betrayal. Palestinians have been slaughtered in their hundreds this year alone, well before the 7th of October. Unsurprisingly, these murders by the Israeli state did not provoke cries of outrage from Sunak, Biden, Braverman, or from Starmer, or from David Lammy. No, for them, or for all those politicians, these murders were business as usual. For them, it was the same old story. Israeli soldiers and settlers shooting down men, women and children in cold blood with no fear for the consequences.
In 2014, during Israel's assault on Gaza that year, which killed over 2,000 Palestinians, including more than 500 children, an Israeli human rights organization tried to take out a radio advert in which they planned to read the names of the Palestinian children killed. The Israeli government stepped in and banned this from happening. In response, the Jewish poet Michael Rosen wrote this: "Don't mention the children. Don't name the dead children. The people must not know the names of the dead children. The names of the children must be hidden. The children must leave this world nameless. The children must leave this world having no names. No one must know the names of the dead children. No one must say the names of the dead children. No one must even think that the dead children have names. People must understand it would be dangerous to know the names of the children. The people must be protected from knowing the names of the children. The names of the children could spread like wildfire. The people would not be safe if they knew the names of the children. Don't name the dead children. Don't remember the dead children. Don't think of the dead children. Don't say dead children."
عامر الحلو 5 years old. يحيى العقاد 5 years old. سالي ظهير 4 years old. مسك الحلو 4 years old. جوري ياسين 4 years old. عبد العزيز الحلو 4 years old. مروان أبو ليبدة 4 years old. نورة رضوان 3 years old. لارا الحلو 3 years old. محمد ياسين 3 years old. عامر ظهير 3 years old.
آدم الحلو 3 years old. مؤمن الحلو 2 years old. محمود عابد 2 years old. حبيبة داهر 1 year old. يقود داهر 1 year old. نبين العاقد 1 year old. محمد رضوان under 1 year old. محمد العاقد under 1 year old. محمد العوا under 1 year old. أسيل داهر under 1 year old. مراح ساعد 17 years old. معتصم أبو عبيد 16 years old.
كرم عيد 2 years old. أنس سكيك 1 years old. سلمى علي 1 years old. جهاد محيسن 1 years old. جميل عيد 1 years old. سراج علي 1 years old. إياد محيسن less than 1 years old. عبيدة معيقلي less than 1 years old. عبد الحميد عاشور 5 years old. جميل أبو حيا 5 years old.
حبيبة أبو عايدة 5 years old. ميرا صيدم 5 years old. رندا شعبان 4 years old. جاد البردويل 4 years old. زين أبو عايدة 4 years old. سدرة الشاعر 4 years old. إلين أبو عايدة 3 years old. حمزة الفصيح 3 years old. شام أبو حمد 3 years old. عمر أبو حمد 3 years old. فادي البردويل 3 years old.
مالك أبو عايدة 2 years old. جاد شعبان 2 years old. عبد العزيز أبو عمرو 2 years old. ملاك الفصيح 2 years old. عماد البردويل 2 years old. عماد البردويل 2 years old. يزن البردويل 1 year. أحمد شعبان 1 year. أحمد شعبان 1 year. تيم الفصيح 1 year. مريم صيدم 1 year. ميار دلول 1 year. طارق أبو عمرة 1 year.
Please join us for 2 minutes silence to remember all those who have been killed in the violence in Gaza this year and the innocent victims of wars throughout history.
I'm really pleased to announce more than 750,000 of us. That's over 750,000 people on the streets of London today, demanding a ceasefire now, demanding freedom for Palestine, demanding a just and a lasting peace.
Say this here today, I will never be silenced. Friends, what we are witnessing is beyond a humanitarian emergency, beyond a humanitarian crisis, beyond a humanitarian catastrophe. And let me be clear, what we are witnessing are grave violations of international law and war crimes under the Geneva Conventions. 11,000 Palestinians slaughtered, over 1,200 Israelis massacred, 7,000 women and children murdered, tens of thousands of civilians maimed and wounded, 1.5 million forced to flee their homes, 200 doctors, nurses and paramedics killed, 2 million people denied food, water, medicine and power, diseases running rampant in overcrowded shelters, and 10,000 buildings, including mosques, churches, schools, hospitals, refugee camps and homes flattened and reduced to rubble. So let there be no doubt, these are acts of collective punishment, violations of international law, and they are war crimes, plain and simple, and we must condemn them for what they are. That is why we stand with those in every city, every capital, every country and every continent to declare that until there is a two-state solution and until there is real peace with an end to the Israeli government's occupation and to Hamas's attacks, until there is an end to the illegal settlements, the holding of hostages, the human rights abuses, the detentions, the rocket attacks and bombings, the killing of thousands of innocent men, women and children, we refuse to be silenced. So I make clear here today that we must see peace, not war, harmony, not conflict, and a two-state solution. And we send a clear message to this government that we stand united in demanding stop the siege, stop the bombing, and stop the bloodshed. We need a ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Solidarity!
One of the most respectable things to do on Armistice Day is ask for armistice. Today we demand a ceasefire! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Ceasefire now! Over the last 35 days, Israel has dropped 10 bombs an hour. Israel has killed 320 people a day. Churches, mosques, schools, hospitals are being destroyed. As we speak, babies in incubators are not safe. Today, fathers in Gaza are searching their rubble to find the bodies of their children. Mothers are searching for hope, and children are searching for justice. Everyone around the world is working to bring about that justice.
1 million people today in the streets of London in solidarity with the Palestinian people. People have spoken a bit about Suella Braverman, but I'm not sure you guys know this, but she is without a doubt one of the nastiest, most divisive politicians in Westminster, and that is no mean feat. But she has done one good thing. She has advertised this demonstration to the whole country, bringing so many people here today. One of the only good things she's ever done. Today in Gaza, Israel's assault will kill a child every 10 minutes. In a single day, 150 children will be slaughtered. In just over a month, we have seen more than 4,500 children and more than 11,000 Palestinians in total killed. Roughly 1 in 200 Palestinians in Gaza killed. And behind every number, behind every statistic, there is a name. Behind every name, there are hopes and dreams, loves and fears, laughter, and now that laughter has been silenced. So today, we are here to send a message to our political leaders. The children killed in Gaza today could have been saved by a ceasefire agreed yesterday, so shame on you. And we say to them, no more green light to Israel's soul. We say no more turning your head as Israel commits war crimes, and no more cheerleading to a second Nakba. We demand a ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now. Ceasefire now.
In Gaza, most of them killed in their homes. More than 4,500 are children. Another 1,500 children lie buried beneath the rubble. The UN General Secretary has said that Gaza is becoming a graveyard for children. There is no safe place in Gaza, north or south. Schools obliterated, airstrikes and callous, giving the green light for the far right to take to the streets with all their violence. Braverman, a lawyer, yet she attacks the right to protest peacefully. She attacks the homeless, the vulnerable on our streets, and she refuses to acknowledge the atrocities that are being committed by Israel.
And collective punishment of Palestinian civilians is absolutely chilling, as are the cynical attempts to discredit those who oppose mass killing and destruction by those who advocate mass killing and destruction. And sadly, we have been there before. In 2003, the anti-war movement was being smeared and received vitriolic establishment opposition, in particular via the mainstream media. I was a teenager then. I remember how we warned that the invasion of Iraq would set off a spiral of conflict, of hate, misery and desperation that would fuel the conflict and misery of future generations. It's not us who are spreading hate and division, but rather we are coming together with the love of humanity in our hearts. Hundreds and thousands of people, millions of people, with a powerful message of solidarity, inspired by a profound sense of humanity. How can it ever be right to collectively punish and kill civilians? How can it be possible to justify the killing of children? Where is the humanity? All lives should be valued and cherished, and that includes Palestinian lives. There is no doubt that history will judge those who stayed silent and those who looked away. Those who traded arms to be used against innocent civilians, and those that gave the green light to war crimes. All because of US and UK foreign policy interests. We know that now is the time to stand up and be counted, and our solidarity must not be defeated. And so we come here today, standing together as activists, community organisers, as people of diverse backgrounds, multicultural, multi-faith, multiracial, from all faiths and none, united and strong. We demand nothing short of an immediate ceasefire. We demand an end to the siege of Gaza, and we demand an end to the ongoing oppression and dispossession of Palestinian people, because we know our struggle for human rights and social justice is intertwined with struggles against injustice and oppression worldwide. And we know this because we know that none of us are free until all of us are free.
Both Palestinian and Israeli, to help stop the bombing, to help end the suffering, to help free the hostages, to stop the war crimes, and to get in the aid so desperately needed in Gaza. And that means our government must call for a ceasefire now. The UN General Secretary says we need a ceasefire. The UN Human Rights Chief says we need a ceasefire. In fact, every major UN agency wants a ceasefire. And so do Oxfam, Save the Children, Amnesty, and so do the vast majority of people in Britain. And so to our government, I say, listen to them and act. There is no time to waste. Take a stand for life. Strain every sinew. Use Britain's vast diplomatic influence to help secure a negotiated ceasefire, one binding on all parties. Because a ceasefire is what's needed to end this crisis. Not 4-hour pauses that are simply used for more displacement of the Palestinian people. And until we get that ceasefire, our government should know this: we will keep on marching. We will keep on marching. And in Parliament, we will keep up the pressure. Almost 100 MPs have backed my parliamentary motion for a ceasefire.
Stop bombing Gaza!